And then there's the stories of when I was a valet. You're parking people's cars and opening doors, getting tips. Cause see, that's what jobs are for, right? Making money, providing a living. People want to know, did you park anybody's car or truck? Famous people? And at the time, I didn't realize who the people were. I remember in front of this one hotel, oh, we've got a meeting today, and might be some people going to want to park at the curb, and you got to chase them away from the curb because people want to come in and park there, and then they want to run into the hotel, and just gets, so we were watching that, and this vehicle came up, this kind of SUV type vehicle, and these two women got out, and I started walking across the entryway to explain to the person that she couldn't park there, and I got close enough, and she just threw her keys at me and says, "Don't move it unless you need to." And I was like, okay, here's somebody who's used to giving people orders. And the woman who came behind her, who had been the driver, she looked at me and she's, "That's the police chief." I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense, park wherever you want. And then the next vehicle that showed up, it was just a dark black Suburban, and a guy got out, and the other valet, he told me, yeah, that guy had parked there before. And so I went out to say something to him, because he had parked and left, and now he's coming back, and it looked like he was going to stay, and I was going to say, this guy just scowled at me. He didn't say anything, didn't give me any keys, he just scowled at me. I was like, okay. Went and checked, it was state of Wisconsin plates, and I told the other guy, he's got state plates on it. He goes, yeah, I don't know who he is. Learned later it was probably the governor's vehicle. Yeah, as a valet, you learn who gets to park where. Vice presidents of the corporation, they'd come up, they were really nice people, park their cars. Touring groups would come up, various bands and stuff. Some people wanted help, some people didn't. I hold the door for one guy, and he says, yeah, do you know where a good coffee place is? Well, there's one down the street over there. Oh, great, thanks. Later I learned when I was valeting at a restaurant that night that John Lennon's son was in town. The girl described him. I'm like, oh yeah, I held the door for him. She goes, you what? Yeah, he needed a door held for him. It really didn't matter to me who he was. It didn't matter to me who these people were. It was like, well, are they going to tip? Are they going to park their car where they shouldn't? I valeted another vehicle one time. It wasn't until I brought it back that I saw this guy signing autographs. And I asked the guy who had been with me, who is that? He goes, oh, that's Donald Driver. I'm like, well, can I get an autograph? He goes, yeah, sure. Just go up there and ask. I didn't know him from Adam. And that's how it is as a valet. You park cars, move vehicles, stuff like this. I remember he had a $7 tip, which was really good for Milwaukee. Really didn't matter. It's just business. It's just people who treat them nicely. That's what I learned. A guy with an Audi could come up, stiff you, give you $1. Another guy shows up late at night with his family in a Suburban. He says, hey, can you hold my vehicle? After I get done eating, I'm gonna go over to the show with my family. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, we can do that. So how late are you gonna be? He goes, well, the show gets out. Well, we'll wait another 10 minutes, and then you know, we can have it out on the street here for you. He goes, yeah, that would really be great. And so we did. You know, just a little extra service. $25 tip. It's like, that was nice. But that's what valeting is like. It's not about the necessarily how expensive the car is. It's just how generous the person is. And if you've done a little extra service for them. So, there's lots more stories about people. Yeah, the doorman one time, he says, I think that guy lied to me. I'm like, why's that? He goes, I think he was here before. I waited another few minutes, asked the doorman a couple of questions. He goes, oh yeah, I remember him. He was here 3 years ago. He did this, this, and this. He'll probably take this long to come out. Service people, they get to know people really well. You know who tips, you know who doesn't tip, you know how long they stay in the restaurant, you know if they're coming and going out of the motel. Because after all, people are creatures of habit. Learned a lot being a valet. You can hold the door for a really rich guy, doesn't mean anything. Do a little extra work for somebody who's, you know, out with his family, get a $25 tip. Granted, we had to split it, but still, it's $12 tip, which is nice for Milwaukee. You remember things like that. But that's stories about being a valet.